what we're worried about. No one's going to find a sunken boat in a circle 5 miles wide.
Well, sir, at that shallow depth, a convoy of fishing boats dragging their nets would eventually snag on it.
So if the Americans are bent on finding this, they will.
It means we have to find it first.
Sir, surely we can't send a convoy of our boats into their waters.
There may be another way. It would involve some untried science, but I think it could work.
Murdoch, I am loath to say this, but I'm listening.
I'll need some special equipment and some time, Prime Minister.
Not too much time, Detective.
Sir. Everything we see is the result of light waves being reflected off of the surface of any given object. Unfortunately, light waves don't travel very far underwater, but sound waves do. And the same principle applies. We call it an echo. So it stands to reason that if we were to send strong pulses of sound from our source here, any that hit a hard vertical surface will be reflected back and detected by our microphone here.
Up to what distance?
By my calculations, up to 1 mile. And since sound travels at a fixed rate of speed, by continuously measuring the amount of time it takes for the waves to be reflected back to the microphone, we can determine the distance to the sunken vessel. To that end, I have built the graphizer. As the sound pulses are collected by the microphone, they are then converted to electrical pulses, which move the needle and mark the paper.
Let me try that. Ha! You can see my voice.
Very good, sir.
So when is this to happen?
Constable Crabtree has secured a fishing vessel. We sail tonight.
Can't see a bloody thing. Sir, how can you tell where we are?
At a fixed bearing and speed, location is a function of time.
Okay, so where are we?
We're entering our range. Right then, George. Put the microphone in the water now.
Aye, aye, sir. Aye, aye. Let's try to get into the nautical spirit of things, sir. Needle's moving already.
It's capturing the sound of the motors, sir.
What the hell was that?
That's our source sound. I've rigged it below decks to sound automatically.
Suppose the Americans proved that we tried to fund the Confederates and these copperheads. Do you really think they'd up and march across the border?
Probably not how it would happen. Bully doesn't pick a fight with a punch, he provokes it with an insult.
Most fistfights start with a shoving match.
Exactly. And then they would demand an apology. If we gave them one, we'd be admitting guilt. The Yellow Press would demand punitive action. Any further denial would be viewed as fresh provocation, and so it would go.
Until they're marching across the border.
Don't make no mistakes. They'd hand us our heads.
I think we've got something. Murdoch?
Cut the engines. "50 yards in closing. George, time for you to put on your diving suit.
Sir. How do we know it's the Elvira May that's down there?
We don't, sir.
Ready, Crabtree?
Sir.
Good luck.
Ow! Thank you, sir.
I'll fasten the helmet. Now, George, you remember the signals.
Yes, sir.
When you find the boat,
1 bell.
good. And when you locate the strong boxes,
2.
very good. Now remember, it's only 100 feet, but the pressure will be tremendous. Don't hold your breath on the way back up.
Yes, sir.
Right then, Skipper. All right, take it down. Found the boat.
Bloody hell, he's found the strong boxes too.
Bring him up, Skipper. Are you all right, George?
I'm all right. I found it.
At least we found the gold before the Yanks.
Sir? We're picking up a sound. Something's coming right at us.
You are in American water. Prepare to be towed to port.
Bloody hell.
Myers,
Clegg?
we meet again, as they say. Open the strong box.
We don't have the key.
Drill the lock, we'll blow it. Stand back, shield your eyes. Bricks. Nothing but damn bricks.
I wasn't sure that the Yanks weren't going to lock us up anyway.
We're not made of gold, Inspector. It's that simple. That look on Clegg's face.
What I don't understand, though, is how did 240 pounds of bullion turn into bricks?
Maybe there never was any bullion.
No? One thing we know for certain is $1 million worth was removed from the treasury.
If it helps, sirs, I think I know how the Elvira May went down.
How?
Well, there was a great hole in the hull, sir. That's how I was able to locate the strongbox so easily.
Do you think she hit something?
I don't think so, sir. The hull was splintered outward. One of the boxes seemed to be blown apart.
So there must have been a bomb in that box.
But who set it? And what happened to the bloody gold?
According to records, 4 strong boxes, each containing 60 pounds of gold, were removed from the treasury in Kingston, then taken to the train in an armored wagon.
Well then,
The strong boxes were placed in a safe to which only the rail guard knew the combination. The key to the strong boxes was then entrusted to Mortimer Shanley after he showed the letter of authority to the Treasury officials. Then the strong boxes were accompanied by Shanley and the rail guard until the train reached Union Station.
Could Shanley have stolen the gold after that?
Unlikely. Why would Shanley put the strong boxes on board the Elvira May if he had already removed the gold?
Sirs, the rail guard from Grand Trunk who oversaw the shipment is here.
Were you guarding the baggage car the whole time?
Most of the time. Mr. Shanley told me to get dinner at one point. Then about Port Hope, I came down with a case of Ponditrance. But there was always someone there. We all took our turns.
All?
Me, Shanley, and the other guy.
What other guy?
I don't remember his name.
Do you remember anything specific about him?
He was nice, shared some of his candy treats with me. We talked a bit. As I recall, he had a bit of a stutter.
Mr. Shanley intended to claim ministerial prerogative, but this was always of questionable legality.
So you didn't steal the gold?
How could I? It was locked up in that safe. I didn't have the combination.
But the safe was opened while you were in the baggage car. You could have noted the combination, Mr. Cheevers.
There was a guard at all times. Mr. Shanley was there.
They didn't leave to have dinner. And I believe you fed the guard laxatives in the form of candy. No, Mr. Cheevers, I believe there was a period of time when you were alone in that baggage car.
And a time when Shanley was alone in there. He stole the gold.
No, sir. It was you. When Shanley and the guard were gone, you opened the safe and removed the strong boxes filled with the gold. You then replaced those strong boxes with identical ones filled with bricks. You then took the original strong boxes filled with the gold and put them back in the shipping crate.
Bravo, detective. You make it sound so easy. I almost wish I'd done it. Do you really think that I'd have spent the last 34 years on a boring government job if I had $1 million of gold at my disposal?
Sir, we struck gold, so to speak. We found these in Cheever's basement.
I see you've been to my house.
You sawed through the boxes once you got them home.
What choice did I have?
That's right. Mr. Shanley had the key to these strong boxes.
You have the key to these boxes? Why not put your theory to the test?
These bars are made of lead.
Disappointing, isn't it? Try sawing through them for 2 weeks and see how you feel. And then try doing it again, just in case the first was an anomaly. I obviously didn't steal any gold. So what's the charge?
Murder.
Murder. I didn't kill Shanley. I was nowhere near the docks that night.
Perhaps. But in order for your plan to work, you needed Shanley to disappear. Permanently. That's why you loaded a strongbox with a time bomb. Believing Shanley would sail on the Elvira May.
You have no evidence.
We found one of the strongboxes blown apart on the lake floor. People died when the Elvira May went down, Mr. Cheevers.
First bricks, now lead. Where's the bloody gold?
Could a rail guard have taken it?
No, I believe it was Mr. Shanley.
But you said it wasn't him.
Yes, I know, sir. At first, I thought it didn't make sense that Shanley would knowingly ship the strong boxes filled with bricks. But it makes perfect sense if he thought his mission was compromised.
You think he knew that Cheevers was going to make a play for the gold?
Not Cheevers.
A spy. Right? They thought an American spy was onto the plan.
And what better way to flush out a spy than to go ahead with the plan as intended, but substitute the lead bars for gold?
Stash the gold somewhere safe. Get it to the Confederates another day.
Where the hell did he stash it? And how did he do it?
The same way that Cheevers did. Mr. Shanley observed the combination to the safe, as did Cheevers. Later that night, when the others were at dinner, Shanley removed the strong boxes containing the gold. But instead of using a shipping crate, as Cheevers did, he used the coffin of the fictitious soldier.
So Shanley thought he was compromised, so he brought along lead bars in a coffin. Cheevers wants to steal the gold, so he brings along 4 strong boxes of bricks in a shipping crate.
Yes.
Cheevers thinks the gold is in the crate, but Shanley has it in the coffin. So, gentlemen, where the hell is the coffin?
Mr. Myers, I believe I know where it is.
Jared Hampson and Linden Grove.
Linden is a small town just west of Hamilton. The rail line runs through it.
What's Grove then?
Sirs, would anybody else like to...
Come on, hurry up there, son.
Is this what you're looking for, Mr. Myers?
$1 million in gold.
Actually, it's only worth about $370,000 now, Murdoch. Market value of gold has diminished somewhat since the Civil War.
And what's the government going to do with all of this found money?
Oh, that's top secret.
Really?
Not really, no. I have no idea. It's not my job.
What exactly is your job, Mr. Myers?
Well, that is top secret.
Well, you found the gold, Murdoch. But you've still to solve the murders of Shanley and Jacobson.
Yes, I've been giving that some thought, sir.
No doubt.
Well, sir, I've been considering Prime Minister Laurier's question. What was a boat that was headed to St. Catharines doing in American waters? Unless it was headed to America.
There was a Union spy on the Elvira May. He killed Shanley, left him at the docks, took control of the boat, and headed to America.
Exactly, George. And I believe that Union spy was Bertrand Jacobson.
Why him?
He knew of the plans to ship the gold. His wife told me that he fought in the Union Army but switched sides. I don't think he switched sides. I believe he became a spy for the Union Army. And Shanley's killer was left-handed. Jacobson was also left-handed. George, take some of the men over to the Jacobson property. I believe you'll find the ball.
Ball from a Griswold and Gunnison revolver. Sir, where do I?
So who killed Jacobson?
Colonel Grodin, you were the Confederate agent awaiting that shipment of gold in St. Catharines, weren't you?
I know what you are thinking. I did not murder Jacobson.
I've noticed that you choose your words very carefully, Colonel. Murder, that's cowardly. A Southern gentleman does not commit murder. But he can kill with honor, can't he? This is a ball that my constables found on Jacobson's property. We've tested it, and it matches Jacobson's pistol.
Is that so?
It was found roughly where you were standing when you shot Bertrand Jacobson. You challenged him to a duel, didn't you?
I did nothing of the kind.
No. That's your answer. Would you stake your honor as a gentleman on that?
We agreed to fire at the count of 3. He fired first.
And missed?
No. I dodged at the count of 2. I knew he would cheat. He was a Union man, after all.
How did you know he was a Union man?
Jacobson told me that Shanley went down on the Elvira May. Now, why would he lie about that unless he was the son of a bitch who killed him? And why would Jacobson kill Shanley unless he was a goddamn Union spy? That's why I killed Jacobson.
Well, the country's safe from invasion, and you've solved 2 murders in one go. You'll sleep well tonight, me old mucker.
Yes, sir, I believe I will.
One thing that puzzles me. How did you know that Jacobson was a lefty?
Well, I surmised that only a left-handed shooter would have exposed his left underarm to Grodin's line of fire.
In other words, you assumed your conclusion in your premise. You just begged the question, Murdoch.
Yes, sir, I did. Oh. Prime Minister.
Detective Murdoch. Inspector?
Sir?
I I wanted to thank you personally. Your country owes you a great debt.
Thank you, sir.
Gentlemen.
You realize, of course, the country can never really know the debt it owes you.
I'm aware of that, Mr. Myers.
Excellent. Till we meet again?
Oddly, this time, Mr. Myers, I look forward to it.
Good.
Number, please, sir. Connecting now. Go ahead, sir. You're welcome. Number, please.
I said no calls while Mr. Lowe's here. Sorry, Isaac. You were saying the campaign's tilted in my favor, yes?
Indeed, your opponent has foolishly come out against the subway project.
Excellent. But what did we expect from a backward-thinking blowhard like Ellis Cornwall?
Which is why you are the right candidate for alderman. Brackenreed right the ship, eh?
Clear sailing from here, I'd say.
Ah, but the voting public is fickle, if it's even thinking at all. To that end, your campaign wants you out there stumping, driving home your vision of Toronto's world-class future.
I'm ready. Let me out that gobshite Cornwall.
That's the spirit, but first a little sprucing wouldn't hurt.
Sprucing?
Yes, your campaign wants your public image as bright as a new button.
And what does this sprucing involve?
Well, for starters, I will have my tailor come over and measure you for a new suit.
A new suit? And who's paying for that?
Don't you worry about that.
That's very generous of you, Isaac.
We are going to knock him dead, Inspector. I will see you soon.
Yes, you will.
And that's when I plugged into the jack and heard that awful sound. That poor woman being murdered.
Murdered? Are you sure?
Yes, strangled. I have very good hearing.
Oh, really? And do you remember where this telephone call came from?
Number 2315.
You again.
It's Miss Moffat. Tess Moffat, Inspector.
Sir, Miss Moffat believes she overheard a murder last night.
A murder this time? Well, I'll put my best man on that immediately. Murdoch. Miss Moffat, this murder is the fourth imaginary incident you've wasted our time with. A tiny reminder. You're not a policeman. You're a telephone operator.
Then you are aware that I am breaking telephone company rules by repeating what I overheard. Good day, Inspector.
Sir, we are obliged to look into any reports of criminal activity.
More than 5 minutes on this, Murdoch, and you'll be a telephone operator. Bloody woman.
Did Miss Moffat happen to recall the number, George?
She did, sir. 2315. Should be here in the reverse directory. 240 Walnut Street.
Constable?
The back door was open, sir.
Oh.
Do come in. There doesn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary, sir. I suppose Miss Moffat has cried wolf once again.
Just a moment, George.
What are you looking at, sir?
If I'm not mistaken, this is blood. George, search the house.
Sir.
Explain yourselves.
Mother.
Detective William Murdoch, Toronto Constabulary. And you are?
Mrs. Hansworth, Mr. Whitaker's housekeeper. And I asked you for an explanation.
We believe something untoward has occurred in this home.
That is impossible. Mr. Whitaker is a fine Christian man.
And where is Mr. Whitaker now?
He left on business for Chicago 3 days ago.
Madam, is there any chance you may have left the back door unlocked last evening?
None whatsoever. Goodness. Has Mr. Whitaker been burgled?
We're not sure. Who else has access to the home?
I have the only key apart from Mr. Whitaker.
Then do you have any idea where this drop of blood came from?
I'm sure I don't.
Miss Moffat, what exactly did you hear on Mr. Whitaker's line?
I heard the sound of a woman being strangled.
Ah, pardon me, Miss Moffat, Constable.
Sir. Miss?
Thank you.
Detective Murdoch. Yes, I placed the call to Chicago.
Oh my. Will you look at that? Is this a finger mark kit?
Well, yes, it is.
Fascinating. Have you ever caught a criminal using finger marks, Constable?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have. It's an extremely useful tool. Everywhere in the world has unique fingers. I should get back to my duties, though.
Oh, thank you, Constable.
Of course, Miss Moffat.
Whitaker is still in Chicago, sir. He's been there on business for the past 3... Are you quite sure this is a good time, sir?
You can't be in politics without paying attention to your image, Murdoch. Go on.
Yes, sir. Whitaker confirms that only he and his housekeeper have keys to the house.
She checked that nothing was missing?
She has.
Well, that rules out burglary. Any reports on a missing woman, or a dead one for that matter?
No, sir.
Why am I not surprised?
Sir, the drop of blood on Whitaker's desk remains a mystery.
What do you think, Murdoch? Brown, blue, or what about the pinstripe? Too modern?
Sir, oh, no, sir. A body's been found near Sherburne and Bloor, sir.
There you go, Murdoch. A real case. Not some figment of a girl's imagination. Pinstripe.
I came around the corner and saw him lying there. It gave me the shock of my life.
And what were you doing in the laneway, Mr. Phillips?
I'm a city worker. I was inspecting a gas line. Never expected to find something bad like this.
Detective.
Excuse me.
He's so young.
Yes, I know this must be difficult.
There seems to be some bruising. There's a small inconsistency in the ligature marks. He was strangled, possibly by a thin rope that was frayed.
And the time of death?
The last 12 to 18 hours. I discovered something quite unusual. Clothes don't match the boy.
How do you mean?
He had a deficiency in mineralized calcium.
Rickets. Generally a disease of the poor.
Yes. Perhaps he stole the clothes.
Perhaps.
You seen him? You seen him?
Thank you.
Sir, down there. Oi! What's your name, lad?
Dory, think hard. Have you seen this boy before? We need to contact his parents. Let them know what's become of their boy.
Can I go now?
One more question. Why did you run, Dory?
Street boys always get the blame for something. Don't matter what.
A milliner's. What's a street boy doing buying hats?
Well, sir, I spoke to the shop owner, a Miss Elizabeth Lurton. She's a kindly soul. She lets Dory use her telephone on Mondays and Fridays at 11 o'clock to receive a call from his uncle.
Is that so? The little angel has a kindly old uncle who telephones regularly. This Dory's got more on the go than he's letting on, Murdoch.
Yes, sir, I believe he lied when he said he didn't know the dead boy.
Well, sirs, perhaps we should listen in to the lad's next call on Monday.
Listen in?
Yes, sir. The milliner's shop is on the Temperance Street Telephone Exchange. Now, that's where Miss Moffat works.
Give me strength, Crabtree.
Well, sir, I could supervise the call. That way, it's official police business, and she won't be risking her employment.
If we involve her in a murder investigation and it goes wrong, well, I am running for alderman, you know?
We know. Sir, I'm confident George will manage his plan with success.
Operator, go ahead, sir. Connecting you now. Ma'am, that line is occupied. Number, please. That line is otherwise. An incoming call. From the public telephones at the Junction Exchange.
I have a call for 1098.
Thank you, operator. 1098, the milliner's number.
Top Hot's Millinery.
Good morning, madam. I'm calling for my nephew, Dory.
Yes, sir. Hello?
Hello, Dory. Are you well?
I am, Uncle. Are we meeting today?
Yes. 159 Castle Frank Road. The usual time.
A street boy with an uncle living up in posh Rosedale? That doesn't add up.
Will you stake out the house?
Stake out?
It's a phrase I learned in the Penny Dreadfuls. It means to watch.
Oh, I know.
What are you doing?
Well, you've just given me an idea now for my adventure novel.
Adventure novel. May I read it?
Perhaps when I'm done.
Oh, I can wait.
Well then, Detective Murdoch will decide whether or not we stake out the Castle Frank house.
Might I be able to come along?
No, absolutely not.
I have very good eyesight.
Really? No, Miss Moffat, civilians cannot become involved, especially the fairer sex. It's far too dangerous. I'll keep you abreast of any goings on.
Hello, Dory. What have we here?
Please, sir, don't arrest me. They'll kill me too.
Right. Let's try this again. Did you know the dead boy? Young man, you were caught with stolen property. You'll spend a great deal more time in a prison cell if you don't start cooperating.
Pip. Pip was his name.
And how did you know him?
He robbed houses too.
You said, they'll kill me too. Who are they?
The men we work for. They're rough.
Dory, who are they? Who is this uncle you speak to twice a week?
I don't know. A man telephones and gives us addresses. We rob the house and leave the jewelry at a drop place.
You never meet?
No. Where's Pip now?
He's in the morgue.
Can I see him? We were friends.
Did he have family?
Not that he said. He'll be very proper, right?
Oh, yes, of course.
He was a smart one. He could read. Taught me some, too.
Really?
He said that if we wanted out of the thieving life, we'd have to learn our letters better. Maybe they found out and killed him for it.
Dory, I know you're scared, but cooperating with Detective Murdoch is your way out now.
Yeah, if they don't catch me first.
Gulliver's Travels, do you know it?
I've seen it at the library. go in and look at all the books until they throw me out.
It's a wonderfully imaginative tale. Why don't you borrow it?
Are you sure?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll bring it back.
Right then, Dory, come along.
Marvelous speech at the Rotary Club last night, may I say. You put Cornwall solidly in his place, though it might be an idea to tone down some of your colorful language.
Tone down?
It's just so that my esteemed opponent, Ellis Cornwall, doesn't become Ellis Cornwall, that bloody little tosser. But one more thought here. Let's consider Tommy as the name to call you.
Tommy? You serious?
Tommy is a man of the people. Thomas plays tennis with his opera-loving bon vivants.
I see.
And we may need to do a little work on that accent of yours.
Accent?
Let's try enunciating more clearly. So, oh, Horace, isn't it horrid when you're hot and in a hurry and you have to hold your hat on with your hand? Now you tell me. Oh, Horace, isn't it horrid when you're hot and in a hurry and you have to hold your hat on with your hand?
I don't see how this bloody posh accent is going to make me a man of the people.
We must be all things to all people. Will you trust me, Tommy? I've done this before.
Excuse me, Isaac. Urgent business. Murdoch.
Sir?
You've got something urgent for me, right? Yes?
Sir?
You've got something, Murdoch. For me.
Ah, yes. Yes, most urgent, sir.
Oh.
I spoke with Dory. Apparently, he and Pip, the boy who died, were working for jewelry thieves. But there have been no reports of burglaries.
Bit strange if thieves are running around town. You sure this Dory's not telling tall tales?
Well, sir, I did catch him with stolen valuables. It would be in his best interest to tell us the truth.
I'm not convinced you ever get the whole truth from that kind.
Sirs, Mr. Whitaker called. He's back from Chicago.
I have no idea what happened, Detective. It's all very confusing. Blood on my desk. The back door unlocked. I'm as mystified as you.
And how long has Mrs. Hansworth been in your employ, Mr. Whitaker?
5 years. You'll find no impropriety there. Her credentials are impeccable.
And you're quite sure nothing's missing from the home? Nothing Mrs. Hansworth may have overlooked?
Oh, everything is just as I left it. My gold cufflinks in plain view on my bureau. Cash in my desk drawer. Nothing is missing.
Well, perhaps it's simply a misunderstanding then.
So it seems. I do appreciate your thoroughness, though, Detective. Oh, excuse me. Hello? Yes, I returned from Chicago this morning. I will be at the office within the hour, yes. Thank you. Apologize for the interruption.
I'll be needing to take your telephone, Mr. Whitaker.
Whatever for?
The fray on Mr. Whitaker's telephone line exposed the wires. It matches the inconsistent ligature marks on Pip's neck.
So it was Pip that Miss Moffat heard being strangled, not a woman. He was small enough to get in through the milk box.
Could he have been sent to rob Whitaker's home?
It's possible. Perhaps Pip's killer caught him in the act, then suffered a cut in the ensuing struggle. But who was the killer?
It's criminals who take advantage of destitute children. And the parents who abandon them. I can't imagine.
Everyone has their story, Julia.
Well, at least Dory seems to have a future.
Let's hope.
I've been looking for books that he might like.
Perhaps you should wait for Gulliver's Travels to make its way
William,
back.
don't be such a pessimist. Now, you must excuse me. I'm joining Darcy at the hospital for a presentation on the draining of infected wounds.
Is
sure Whitaker had nothing to do with this, Murdoch? The boy was killed in his house.
Yes, sir, but Whitaker was in Chicago at the time of the murder. I spoke to him there myself.
Fair enough. If the dead boy was part of the jewel theft ring, maybe we should find out how it operates.
Starting by identifying this elusive uncle.
How do you intend to do that?
Well, sir, the thieves don't know that Dory is cooperating with us. What if Miss Moffat...
Not her again. That girl's a bloody pest.
But what if she were to trace Dory's next telephone call?
Miss Moffat said that the uncle telephoned Dory from a public telephone at the Junction Exchange. He may do so again. I was thinking I could stake out the Junction Exchange on Friday at 11 a.m.
Stake out?
Yes, sir. It means to watch.
Very good, George. You can be on the telephone with Miss Moffat, and she can then tell you when Dory speaks to the uncle. You'll then be able to identify the man at the Junction Exchange.
Yes, sir. I assume this will call for plain clothes?
Yes, George, I suppose it will.
I'll agree to this caper on one condition, Murdoch, that Miss Moffat does not leave her switchboard.
Actually, sir, for this plan to work, it's imperative that she remain at her post.
She's part of this once, and this once only. Question is, can we trust that little stray not to queer the plan?
Pip was in a house in Rosedale.
Do you have any idea why he might have been there?
No. He did his thieving in Parkdale. Do you think I was right? One of the men we robbed for killed him?
It's a possibility. That's why we'll be listening to your phone call. Now, it's important that you speak and act naturally. This uncle mustn't suspect that we're onto him.
All right.
Under 5 miles, please. Temperance Street Exchange, please.
Just try back later, please. Operator.
Number, please.
Miss Moffat.
Number, please.
Hello, Constable Crabtree. I'll let you know when the call comes through. Password is Goldfish.
Goldfish, excellent.
I'm sorry, sir, that number is engaged. Well done, sir.
Number, please.
1098.
Connecting you now, sir.
Okay, I am connecting. Please try later.
Goldfish.
Thank you, well.
Goldfish. Goldfish, goldfish, goldfish.
Yes, I hear you. Which booth is he calling from?
I can't tell.
Well, let me know when Dory ends the call.
Good thinking, Constable Crabtree.
Number, please.
Goodbye.
They're just finishing now.
I followed the suspect all the way to the courthouse where I discovered he's in fact Judge Benjamin Hooper. Somehow I doubt his lordship is involved in a jewelry theft ring.
You had a 50-50 chance of being right, George. Perhaps you'll find the man you didn't follow in our Bertillon photos.
Crabtree's sifting through photographs.
Yes, sir.
I take it his grand plan fizzled.
Oh, sir, that is quite a suit.
Thank you, Murdoch. Not too,
ostentatious. No, not at all.
Good. Because Isaac Lowe wants to show off his spruced up candidate with a picture in the newspaper. So if you catch those jewelry thieves...
It's a perfect opportunity to call in the press.
Ah, indeed. I'll be in my office.
You followed the wrong man, Constable Crabtree.
Yes, I'm aware of that, Miss Moffat. Thank you for the reminder, though.
After you left the Junction Exchange, I stayed on the line. Dory's contact, the uncle, made another call to his brother at the Union Station Exchange public telephones.
How do you know it was the uncle's brother?
He called him that. They seem to be discussing their family, but I suspect otherwise.
Do you?
The man at Union Station said, Granddad wants to know what's happened to his nephew. The man at the Junction telephone, the uncle, then replied that he didn't know. The Union Station man then said, Granddad's very unhappy. His Bible is missing.
Yes, I see what you mean. It sounds like they're speaking some sort of code. As I suspected. Did he say anything else?
Yes, they agreed to meet. Usual time at our mother's. You think that's code too?
Very likely. I doubt they're talking about an actual family member.
A public house.
I can't think of one called Mother.
Could it be our Mother of Divine Sorrow Church in Parkdale?
I'll inform Detective Murdoch of this immediately. Miss Moffat, this has been very helpful.
Please, call me Tess, Constable.
Tess, call me George.
Goodness, George, there's a body.
Sir, this is the man I didn't follow from the telephone exchange. This is Dory's uncle.
George, this is Randolph Phillips, the man who claims to have found Pip's body.
And he's also involved in the jewelry theft ring. That's hardly a coincidence, sir.
Indeed.
Do you think he killed Pip then?
Yes, I do. The question is why. He appears to have been tortured. That's normally employed to extract information. I wonder what secret Mr. Phillips thought was worth dying over.
One-twelfth the size of normal human beings. It means the Lilliputians are 12 times smaller than Gulliver.
So they're about 5 or 6 inches tall then.
Exactly. You're quick with mathematics.
Once I learn my letters better, I want to be an apprentice.
What would you like to do?
I fancy working a printer's shop.
Well, knowing your figures will serve you well, Dory. Why don't you try another chapter of Mr. Swift?
I will.
Good. Now I have to work.
Some work, huh? See you later.
Wounds are unusual, William. I don't know what caused them. Some very particular instrument. But there's no question Mr. Phillips was tortured.
And then finished off.
I doubt it got that far. He had a heart defect. The pain of being tortured triggered a fatal heart attack.
So it's possible that he died before giving up the information his assailant was after.
Yes, poor man.
Well, there's no need for sympathy, Julia. I believe Mr. Phillips here murdered young Pip.
Oh, I see.
Be sure to encourage Inspector Brackenreed to stand up straight for the camera. He has a tendency to drop his head forward somewhat. Makes him look like a surly bulldog.
The elusive jewelry thieves, I assume.
Yes, sir. I believe they're organized in a hierarchy. The young boys, known as nephews, commit the robberies. Then report back to the middlemen, Phillips in this case, who is the uncle and his brother. And at the head is Granddad.
Yes, well, some of this homicidal horde have a horrible habit of getting themselves murdered. Got you there, Murdoch. Hardly any accent at all.
Yes, sir. Hardly any at all.
Sirs, reports of jewelry thefts are trickling in across the city, all from wealthy folks who've just returned from holidays.
So their Toronto homes had been vacant for several weeks.
Which explains why the robberies weren't reported earlier. But how do the thieves know which properties were empty?
Someone in their gang must be familiar with the neighborhoods they're targeting.
Also, I've been checking in with the pawn shops. None of the jewelry is showing up.
No, it wouldn't, George. I believe this is a sophisticated operation, headed by a fence who either holds on to the stolen property or has buyers elsewhere.
How does this connect to the murders of Pip and Phillips? Excuse me, gentlemen, but I have to have my blooming publicity photograph taken. Keep me informed.
Sir, I can't help notice the inspector's language has become less salty of late.
That it has, George.
I think I liked him better the way he was. Constable Crabtree.
George, the man who's on the telephone with Mr. Phillips, he's right here at the exchange.
Well, who is it? Tess. Tess.
Yes, sir. Connecting you now. welcome. Number, please. 375. Number, please. I'll scroll down. Yes, ma'am. And
He's there. He's there. What's his name? He's right there. His name is Josiah Lawrence. He's a telephone installer.
How do you know he was talking to Philip?
I heard him chatting to one of the operators. I recognize his voice plain as day.
Are you sure?
Yes, I have very good memory.
So do I.
George, don't let him get away. Go, go.
Sir! You there! Pronto Constantler, you're under arrest. What in blazes for?
Just come with me.
You've arrested the wrong man.
Mr. Lawrence, do you know a Randolph Phillips?
I do not. I insist you let me go. I'm late for my shift at the Toronto Telephone Company.
Where you are a telephone installer.
What has my job got to do with anything?
It gives you access to people's homes, does it not?
Why are you asking?
Mr. Lawrence, do you know this boy?
My lord. I've never seen him before.
This man was pulled off the street based on one of Miss Moffat's wild fantasies. Do I have that right? I thought so. Let him go.
Sir, Miss Moffat was right about the killing at the Whitaker house. If she's also correct about Josiah Lawrence arranging to meet Phillips, he is in all likelihood a brutal killer.
Well, then hold him and find some connection to Phillips or the dead boy apart from Tess Moffat. Is that clear?
Do you recognize this man?
I've seen him talking to Pip a few days before he was killed.
Do you know what he wanted?
Pip told me that it was none of my business. And then the next time I saw him, he was wearing new clothes. Is that who killed him?
I don't know, Dory. I don't know. So, Lawrence supplied the addresses of the homes that were vacant to Phillips. Phillips then tells the boys which households to rob.
And so why was Pip killed, sir?
Pip was hired by Lawrence to do a job that